Thank you.
His family and loved ones to ask for forgiveness for the most horrible things that he did. And he felt terrified in denying this man his ability to make amends and asking for not just forgiveness, but even just accepting the offer. I thought she was not only extraordinary in that, but a bit of hope. I think in how people can possibly come together, no matter who it is in November, get over a really devastating hump that I think is torn apart a lot of families. Lev describes it as, in a word he made up, but probably doesn't know he made up. He got decultivized, or he got cultivized and subsequently decultivized. And we really believe that he was, he fell into the throes and the wiles of holy and escaped from.
So many things, so many more questions to ask you. We're done. I know my questioning. I'll need to send a very short break. That's all anyone.
So last time, the parking mall, the first one to take it, you can check it on moms and their smartphone.
I use Guardian Mobile every day, sometimes twice a day.
Okay, good. So let me start that. And all right. So let's just go over some webinar rules and let you know this webinar is being recorded. Your microphones are muted unless you are speaking. If you're invited to speak, remember to unmute yourself and then mute again once you're finished. Use the chat function for relevant questions and comments. If you're speaking or asking a question, keep it brief and to the point to respect everyone's time. Allow the presenter to manage the time and follow the agenda, especially during Q&A sessions. Do not share or record any part of the webinar without permission from the host, and some content may be proprietary or confidential. All right. So I do want to just let you know that we are beginning our workshop, our small business workshops at the center, at the Ella Baker Women's Business Center. And so our first workshop is coming up on October 25th. It's Leadership Unlocking Your Potential. And it's being done by our business analyst, Diana N. Brown. Also, too, we have on our website the link and registration for the Co-op Academy 2025. So if you have some folks that didn't get a chance to sign up for this academy that's going on now, you can refer them to our website where they can submit their applications for the Co-op Academy. Here are our social media connections, our Facebook, our LinkedIn, our Instagram, and our YouTube page. And so let me introduce our presenter this evening, Ms. Charmaine Davis. She's a native Baltimorean who brings over 20 years of financial management experience dedicated to the government and nonprofit environment. As an advocate of community schools, she works with Hartford Business Center. Hartford Business Center collaborates with community organizations to support the youth with workforce development, job placement, and training support and monitoring, evaluation of successful job placement for today's youth. And so I'll just give a quick overview. I know Charmaine will share a little more about herself with you. Okay, so let me stop that. And Charmaine, while I'm pulling up your slides, would you like to share a little more about yourself with the audience?
Okay, sure. Let me first thank Miss Diana for being very persistent with the gentle reminders. So I want to say thank you for staying on top of me, even when I wasn't the best person. So I want to thank her publicly. So yes, I am, I've been doing accounting for quite some time now, and I actually need to update probably the picture and the bio. So now I graduated from Towson University with my bachelor in accounting. And so I'm honored this semester, I went back to teach accounting at that institution. So I'm a little excited about that. But I still maintain and support my small business owners and our nonprofits. Those are near and dear to my heart. But I want to say, it looks like we have a pretty large crowd in here. So I'm excited to kind of dive in while Ron is pulling up the slides. I really want to get to know who's in the room. So I am going to let me see the best way to do this. I can do a shout out as I see you come up on the screen and put everybody on the spot, but I really want to hear if you can just kind of give me your name, if you have a business, and maybe I hear that not everyone is in the same location. And if you can tell me where you're residing or where your business is located. All right, so and please forgive me and correct me if I mispronounce any names. So I have Ms. Naima Kearney first.
Yes, Naima Kearney.
Naima, yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. What did you do? I
So,
have a business?
yeah,
Sorry.
and if you have a business, what type of business?
I do not currently have a business, but I'm working with a group. We have a garden that we are looking to establish a cooperative with.
Awesome. And where are you located?
I'm located in Alexandria, Virginia.
All righty. Right. Thank you for sharing. Oh, we got it. All right. All right, Miss Diana Brown. No, she may have stepped away. So I'm gonna go to Miss Pamela James.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I do want to finally introduce myself. I'm Diana Brown. I'm a business analyst for NDCC. And it's so great to see all of you and put a face to your name. And I'm excited to get to know everyone personally. So welcome and enjoy. And it was so nice to meet you as well. Thank you for the compliment, Mrs. Davis.
Thank you. All right, I have a Pamela James next.
Yes, my name is Pam James. I am from Buffalo, New York, and the organization is Life Source Systems. It's a 501(c), so really we're charity, we're a charitable organization. But right now, what I'm doing, we have a big festival tomorrow, and I'm here cutting up our vegetables because we're planting throughout Western New York, and then we're gonna have a festival that feeds the community. So if I'll put my information in the chat. If I'm not as verbal, that's why it is. That's why. But I'm happy to see everybody, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right, wait a minute. I just messed it. Okay. Antonisha Owens. Did I get that right?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So, I'm from Syracuse, New York. My company is Afika Pure. I'm working with a group here in Syracuse, and we're working on a community and BIPOC farmer cooperative market.
What are you doing here?
Excellent. Thank you. That's nice to meet you. All right. We have Joshua Kroom.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Good seeing all the faces again. Nice meeting you. I am Josh Kroom. I'm a part of the Boston Ujima Project in Boston. I'm a fund management fellow and really excited about the class to learn more about the history of cooperatives, particularly for people that look like us. Doing this in part to kind of be more of an assistance to the cooperatives that we serve in Boston, but personally would love one day to open like a cooperative grocery store.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice meeting you.
Likewise. All right. We have Rick Welsh.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone again. Thank you, Ms. Davis, for coming. And I'm a professor at Syracuse University. I'm working with Antonisha. Ani Bellas is on, and I think Rhonda, Bessie, and others on establishing food co-op in the city, in an area that needs more fresh food.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Bobby Angelica Morris.
Hi. Hello, I'm Bobby. I'm currently in Maryland / DC. I'm also in the group with Naima, with ASL Guiding is the business that I currently have. Definitely new, definitely developing. The goal is just to create community garden coalitions and farm coalitions that are accessible for deaf people, for physically disabled people, for mentally disabled people. So yeah, happy to be here.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Where did all right, it reordered, so I'm gonna go with Carolyn Ross Holmes.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Carolyn Ross Holmes. I'm in North Carolina by way of Baltimore, Maryland. Woo, woo. And I am the executive director of the Ella Baker Educational Project of North Carolina. So I am particularly interested given Miss Baker's history to co-ops. And so I'm a part of starting the cooperative movement wave here in North Carolina in conjunction with another person that's on here, Karita Steverson. So I'm a part of a group that is forming a grocery co-op to be called the Front Porch Grocery Co-op in Warrenton, North Carolina.
I was getting ready to ask what part. My daughter's down at she's an Aggie in Greensboro at A&T.
Ah, okay. She's a little bit further south. We're right over the Virginia, North Carolina line, the first county. First county when you're entering.
Gotcha.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise, thank you. Oh, Aggie.
Aggie Pride.
Yeah. Ann Bellows.
Hi, I often go by Ani.
Ani.
I'm part of the Syracuse contingent, working to establish a cooperative that links, in particular, regional BIPOC farmers and communities needing fresh fruits and vegetables and perhaps other farm products inside Syracuse. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise. All right. I think I have Ramona Hassan.
Good evening. Nice to meet you. I am with Market 166. We are a co-op and commercial kitchen. We have not opened yet, but our goal is to access fresh vegetables and fruit from our local farmers here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and actually obtain a brick and mortar store in a true food desert, which is in East Point, Georgia.
Awesome.
So we expect to be opening, let's see, how many years have we been at it? They say it take about 10 years to do it. So we've been at it about 6. And we're hoping to get funding. So that's what we're doing here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I have Marie Doris Tax Co-op.
Hi, this is Marie. Doris lives around the corner from me, so we're here together.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a fledgling co-op. We're in design. But the idea here is that we would support tax preparers. Our industry is changing a lot. However, there's a call for, people to be in the pipeline. So we're looking to design a cooperative for professionals that could fill the need, from bookkeepers to, retirees. So that's what we are.
Oh,
and we're in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
Maria may have to speak with you offline. I'm transitioning out of the accounting support and more into the education.
Oh, okay. That's fantastic. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you. Now I have Matthew Simon.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Simon. I'm here with Pamela James, and I run a business called Ithaca Technologies. We work with Black farmers, small businesses, and grassroots organizations on building data tools and data analytics technology pieces. And my hope is as the business grows and as we do legacy planning, which is further down the line, but once we think about that we transition into a co-op. So this remains something that's beneficial to the community and able to build infrastructure for the community versus passing through hands and folks that may not wish us well as a whole.
Gotcha. You said, okay, so farming, and you said something around technology.
Yes, the business is data technology. So we build data tools, help people understand their data, collect it, and be able to use it in the best ways possible.
Awesome. Oh, that's critical. I love it. Thank you. Okay, let's see. It reordered. I did that. All right. Karita Steverson.
Hi, I'm Karita Steverson. I am also from North Carolina and work with Carolina Common Enterprise, which is a technical advisory organization, technical assistance for cooperative development for the state of North Carolina. I'm also the project lead for the grocery project that Carolyn mentioned, the Front Porch Grocery Project here in Warren County, but I grew up in Greensboro. So, smart girl. Although I come from Broncos and Eagles. So we will accept the Aggie pride because it is definitely the greatest homecoming on earth.
Oh, thank you. All right. And I think I got Kendra Klein.
Hi, I am Kendra Klein. I'm here with Hive Mind Community Investment Cooperative. We are waiting on our 501c3 status, and our primary goals are around making housing more accessible. So we plan to do that through a diversified community investment fund that will be 60% invested in real estate, and then also a worker-led nonprofit. I am in Athens, Georgia.
Nice. Nice. Love that. Annette Bryan. I don't think I had you.
Hello, I'm Annette Bryant, and I'm located in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
I do have a company. It is not a cooperative. This time it's a for-profit, but my company is Butterfly Lotus Healing Sanctuary, and it's a LLC. And so what I do is assist the children, the youth, individuals, and families, and breaking through the shame and pain and transforming it to power, strength, and spontaneous pleasure. And I do it through literacy and the arts. And I feel like literacy really is a basic need, because really until you know what you're reading, the information means nothing.
That's true. That's true. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, I think I did not get James Van Boy.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is James Van Boy. I'm located in Philadelphia right now. And I'm here representing Boston Ujima Project. Boston Ujima Project is a community-led business and finance ecosystem. We launched the nation's first democratically governed investment fund. The Ujima Fund directly resources BIPOC-owned operated businesses with a social equity framework. And so far, we've invested in close to 20 businesses, Boston-based businesses, and almost $2 million through a participatory process. And so I'm here alongside Genoa and Joshua representing Ujima. But outside of Ujima, I also aspire to be a business owner and often dream about owning an event and performance space business here in Philly, but haven't quite, I feel like I'm getting closer to that. And I often think about like what is the business model for that.
Okay. So my other child is at Drexel in Philly. We're actually going there this weekend.
Oh, nice. Not too far, right in West Philly.
Okay. Very nice. Nice to meet you. I saw Genoa Daly.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm also on the same team as Josh and James. I work with the Boston Ujima project, located in Boston. And yeah, James just gave you guys the rundown. But I'm definitely interested in this because I always like learning about alternative financing. So I studied finance in college, but like once I joined Ujima, they introduced me to a whole different framework of investing. So learning about co-ops and everything related to that is always something like that piques my interest because there's not always one way to do things. So definitely looking forward to this class. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so this is exciting. I enjoy getting to know everyone in the class because I'm naturally an accountant and an introvert, so it's hard for me to talk about the things that I do. But now that I see it's some synergy, I wanted to share another project that I'm working on, actually with that I still seek Ron for some guidance in. So I was a part of a project in Baltimore City where our nonprofit acquired a vacant elementary school for $1. It was one of the last deals that we were able to do. So I worked with one of the community members. I saw myself as the accountant, but we were kind of boots on the ground together with it. And it took us about 2 to 3 years before we had the whole acquisition transfer over from the city and to the nonprofit. Well, and during that course of time, the executive director, he passed away. And the board called me to ask me, could I step in? So his vision was phenomenal. The vision was like, okay, we have this building. We want it to be a resource center for the community. So regardless of what our community needs, we serve them. So it's between workforce development, mental health support, youth after school activities, food. So everything, kind of that whole, providing that holistic support to the community. So we started off with a food pantry, and then it just grew to all of the things, all of the support that I listed. And now I feel like, and I'm gonna say this is God's work, and I don't know, wherever faith is, the creator or whatever, because I chose accounting. I didn't necessarily choose this work. Let's be transparent. We family now. When God keeps putting it in your face, you're like, okay, all right, what do we have to do? And with that, I said, okay, since this is something that is for the community, then it should be owned by the community. It shouldn't be a person, anybody just making a decision. So they have a voice in, okay, what services, what support are we bringing in? Now, those voices come in different ways. So that comes from the little babies that walk in that say they want something to drink or want something to eat every day after school, to our elders in the community that say, hey, look, we need somewhere to go because we're tired of just sitting in the house. So, and everything in between. And So I have the great honor, and I joke that this is God's work, but I feel like it's an honor that I'm able to serve the community that I grew up in, and that in addition to give back and teach. So, and I think that's part of what I love to do. So I'm just saying that to say that this workshop is going to be bigger than accounting. I think that it plays a huge role in launching your business and launching your co-op, but you mix that accounting with the passion and the people, baby, that's a recipe for success right there. So I just wanted to share that little bit of part of my story. But with that, and it's ironic here, and I know it's what time is it? It's almost 7 o'clock on a Thursday night. So I'm gonna give us a little flavor. I know accounting may not, I heard it's a couple of accounting and finance people in the crowd. So they may get and may be excited to be here, but for maybe the mass majority, this may not be where you want to be. So I'm gonna try to make it as interactive and as fun as possible. So this is not a one-way conversation. Be prepared to, let me see if I can, before I start talking trash, let me pull up the chat. Okay. So either if you're not going to jump in, I would say, drop your questions or responses in the chat. And so now that I have it all pulled up. All right, is that fair enough? All right, give me an emoji, a little thumbs up or something that I know that you're there. Even with my sister pulling together the event for tomorrow. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I saw I did get a message. Carolyn, you asked me what school? Was that for me?
Yes, I'm very curious because I'm from Baltimore.
Oh, okay. So it's the Langston Hughes Elementary School. We're right at Ricestown Road in Garrison.
Yes. Okay. We're going to talk offline. I won't get
Yeah.
distracted.
Okay.
I'm very familiar. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. So, okay. All right. Do I have control of the slides or you?
Well, you can control it or I can control it, however.
All right, can you put it in slide presentation? Or whichever way, we're gonna rock it out. Oh, is that it?
Hold on a second.
What's this? What is this? Is this PowerPoint? Oh, maybe it's just slideshow over here.
Yeah, slideshow.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we cooking with gas. Okay. All right, now. Okay, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so for my accounting and finance people, just bear with me and humor me. But I cannot talk about accounting without talking about the fundamentals. And this session is just to wet the whistle. I'm not trying to put any accountants out there or encourage anybody to move in that direction, but I do want you aware of your numbers and know what that you're looking at. So hopefully I can provide at least that foundation. And a little bit of clarity. So the fundamental accounting equation, this is what drives us. It's our assets. What do you have? Cash, your building, equipment. What do you owe on it? That equals your liabilities, that debt. Plus, what do you own? That's what's left. That's that equity. That's the net worth. So this is our accounting equation. Assets equal liabilities plus the equity in the business. All right, Ron. And that accounting equation feeds into what we call our balance sheet. That balance sheet is our point in time. It's an accumulation of all of the transactions that feed into our assets and liabilities. And then our equity. At all times, our assets must equal our liabilities plus equity. So when you see a balance sheet, and once you go down to those totals, you got to make sure they're in balance. That's one of the ways of seeing that they're correct. But that balance sheet, that's one of our financials. It's not the more popular one, but it's a lot of information on our balance sheet because it gives you that financial situation. It sees how much your assets, how much debt you're carrying on the books. And then with the equity, how that looks at the end. Okay, you can give me the next slide. So let me give you some examples of our assets. We have our cash, just a fun joke when I teach accounting principles 1, as a way, I'm teaching at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I'm trying to wake up students, but I always say cash is king. So if you don't remember any other assets, if you remember that cash is king on that balance sheet, that shows up number 1. That cash represents your checking account, any type of bank accounts that are associated with the business. And it could represent some liquid, some small investments that are easily accessible. We have accounts receivable. What do people owe you? So I want to say that I don't want to have the misconception we're nonprofit and we do have passion behind this work, but let's be perfectly clear. We all have to live. So we want to make sure that we're not giving more than we have to give. You want to make sure that you are handling this as a business. So with that, you may not be charging your customer. However, someone is paying for your services or the goods. And that's why it's important that we understand the accounting concept. So I'm going to say that again. You may not be charging whoever is benefiting from your service or your goods, but somebody is paying for it. Okay. So that's why cash is important. How much people owe us. You keeping track of, what's my brother with the data? Matthew. We got to keep track of that data because at the end of the day, you want to know how many people have we served? How has this impacted their lives? What has this changed? And that's valuable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this is off subject. I told y'all we family we're gonna be talking through this. If I have to say, as an accountant, and I've been doing this for I think close to 30 years, I just calculate the time, we're gonna say over 20. The two things I see are deficient in our smaller nonprofit and smaller businesses are the accounting records and the data. Those are the two. When at any point, if someone asks you, well, how many people are you serving? And how much does it cost to serve them? They go hand in hand. Okay. So we're going into some other asset. Prepaid expenses. These are expenses that we're paying in advance. Inventory. So for all of my food co-ops, my garden, your garden, your crops, that's your inventory. And I'm sure that's a whole timing issue on, okay, when are we harvesting? How much crops is that? And sidebar, we're trying to get our hand at a community garden up here. We have a rooftop garden going on now, and we were presented an opportunity to grow lettuce. They were asking for, is it romaine lettuce? It was one of the lettuces that was a shortage, and they wanted to start, they needed local farmers to grow it. So I may have to tap into some of the network down here in Baltimore because we're looking to tap into that opportunity. And they showed us the video. That's so much not my lane, but when I looked at the numbers, I was like, okay, this could be a sustainable model and it could create jobs. So I'm all for it. So we were talking about that inventory. Now, investments. Now, keep in mind, when we're a business, we can't just think about doing business today. We got to make sure we're investing for the next generation. What is the legacy of this business?
Recording in progress.
All right. And then we go into the land. That this is the land and the buildings is so critical. And I'm going to say this as a sidebar. Even with this property that we own in the city, do you know how many people come and say, well, if you sell it, you could get XYZ? And I was like, no, the value is in owning it. So we want to struggle and we want to have some sweat equity as we build it up. But we're not looking to sell. I'm looking at the great grandchildren that we want to have something set up for them to take care of it. So we're talking about that land and the buildings, and then our furniture and equipment. Of course, this could be some office and some computers. So all of those are resources of the company. These are what you own. These are our assets. Now let's look at our liabilities. These are the debt or the credit associated with these resources. So these could be some, your accounts payable. That could be some small credit cards, where short-term payables due, accrued expenses, accrued payroll. We're not going to get too deep into that. Some deferred revenue if people prepay. I don't know if we have those CSAs where people prepay the memberships and they're able to come and draw down, gather, collect from the garden, whatever's in season. Accrued interest, member deposits. So now here is where we talking to that's specific to our co-ops. What are our member deposits and what do they cover? I did work with a housing co-op. So they had, of course, the rent, but in addition to, they had additional member fees that added benefits to the residents, and it gave them part ownership to the housing unit. All right, Ron, to the next. All right, when we going into equity, it's like what you, for any of the homeowners out here, or they know of homeowners, everyone says, well, how much equity do you have in your house? It's what your house worth, less how much you owe on it. And that's what's left. So it's the same thing on our, thinking about it on our balance sheet and our accounting equation. Okay, it's accumulation of all the assets we own, how much debt we have associated with those assets, and what's left over is our equity. That's what it's worth. So, and if we break that down into our member shares, everybody has a piece of the pie. Everybody owns a piece of that equity. Now, what becomes interesting is with co-ops, you can decide if there's a pay-in for a co-op, or is it a sweat equity? It's so many creative different ways to kind of to start these co-ops, and it's I think it mostly depends on the type of business, the community you serve, and who's involved. All right, we'll go on to the next. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to go into our income statement. This is the most popular of our financial statements, where it shows most of the banks, investors, they want to see, all right, what's your profit? What has been your profit for the last years, or what do you anticipate? What is your projected profits over the years? Now, for our nonprofits, that's not to say that you cannot generate a profit, but your whole mission of your organization is not to generate a profit. So what your mission is, you're looking at all right, building up reserves, maybe creating that endowment fund, because you're not profit driven. But for all my for-profit companies over here, what are we anticipating our revenues to be, and what's going to be our bottom line? Because if you're in business to make money. And if you're in business, if you have a for-profit business, then you're in business to make a profit. The nonprofit just means you're not driven by the profit, but that doesn't mean you work for free. Uh-oh, did I have a question? So just because you're in a nonprofit doesn't mean you work for free. It just means that the mission of the organization is not profit driven. It's mission driven. All right. Ron, give me the next one. All right, so here are some of our examples of our income and expenses. Our member charges, whatever your the fees, assessments that you charge your members. If there's fines, late fees, annual membership dues, however, and if you have some funds that are in some type of investment account, they may be accruing interest. All right, and if we look on our expense side, of course, we have maintenance and repairs if this is a housing unit, any staff associated, depreciation. So let me just say, all of the income and expenses will be specific to your industry, to your business. So these are a broad example, but it's just kind of a template, whatever's specific to you. And you can tailor it to whatever's important or whatever type of expenses drives your business. So I heard we have a lot of food co-ops and gardens. So it may be a lot more, maybe, I don't know, or materials to buy for the gardening. I think we have a live.
Think of the week still in that little space. Did you clean up your did you put up the thing since you sat on? So why are you playing with scissors? No.
Yes.
No.
Somebody's mic is live.
Can you mute?
Let me see.
Naima, we can hear you, girl.
I got it. I just muted. Oh, okay, got it. Thank you. So we were talking about our expenses. I said we have a lot of the gardeners, so maybe some expense. Actually, just why am I guessing? Drop down some of your expenses for all of my garden, my food co-ops. What are some of the expenses that you anticipate if you don't have it yet?
You're muted, Jermaine.
Oh, okay. Am I on mute?
Yeah, you're unmuted.
Okay. He went on a rampage. I'm muting everybody. Okay, no worries. All right, so I was asking about some of the expenses that's related to your industry or what you anticipate. So I see we have some payroll, some utilities. What do you anticipate spending some money on related to your business? Marketing is critical. Yes. I was getting ready to call on my data guys. Okay, the internet fees, yes. That web education, seed, soil, infrastructure. Yeah, that garden site transformation. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Capital improvements, Josh. Don't try to talk language. I love it. And let me just say a sidebar. So our capital improvements won't show up on our income statement. That will be more our balance sheet. And that has been my favorite place to solicit funds is for capital improvement. For all my program people, I give you so much love. It's so much easier to retrieve funds for capital improvement than it is program. So I'm just as a sidebar for, I think I had somebody who's interested in maybe acquiring space, or if you have your eye on some space. I'm not saying it's an easy task, but it's I found it to be an easier ask. Yes. Yep, capital improvements are quite different from repairs. Our capital improvements are major improvements that improves the value of the building. Our repairs are little maintenance. A sidebar, we have to replace our HVAC. I got a quote to replace the whole HVAC in this building. It's a 43,000 square foot building. And they previously had the big, I call it Big Bertha oil heat. So I don't know if anybody know the cost of oil these days. Oh, it was $4.51 per gallon. And we had a 10,000 gallon oil tank. So when we put in 2,000 gallons of oil, we went through that in 2 weeks. So 2,000 times $5 a gallon. Yeah, that was $10,000 just for 2 weeks of oil. So we're converting over to more energy efficient. We're looking at between gas and oil and seeing what's much energy efficient and gas and the cost. So the cheapest quote we have so far to convert everything over is $1.7 million. So I just want you to know, yeah, the ask is real. All right, on to the next. All right, so I like to use live examples. We're looking at our balance sheet. We went over the different types of accounts, and you see, it is. You see that our total assets must equal our total liabilities and our equity. And it itemizes each of our assets and liability in our equity account. Just so I just want you to couple things. If you're reviewing your financials, if you have an accountant that prepares it, and I'm saying this because I've seen it, make sure you never have a negative cash account, because if it shows you have a negative cash on your balance sheet, then that means you have negative cash in your bank account, and the bank doesn't want to see that. So I want to, and it could be an error where you printing out the financials. So I just want to highlight some things that, you know, you're not paying attention. You just want to print it out and give it to whomever. So when we see all of our assets, we want to make sure they're all positive. It shouldn't be any parentheses around it, because if we have parentheses, then it means it's going into the wrong direction. Under this asset, we also have restricted cash. I want you to pay attention for any of my nonprofits. This is really mandated, where this is saying this cash, a donor gave this cash and it's restricted for a particular use. Whatever that use is and whatever that arrangement is, it has to be separated from your general cash. So that is important. And as you use that restricted cash, then you can reduce the amount down. But it just makes sure it has to serve the purpose that the donor has mandated. All right, so when we look over on our liability side, we shouldn't have any parentheses over here, but if we do, then if we have parentheses around any of the numbers, then maybe we overpaid something, and you want to look into that, or it hasn't been reconciled correctly. So it's just a couple of things to look for. We have our member deposits. So say the easiest thing I can think of, say if we, like a security deposit. However, as a security deposit, once you have a customer or a tenant give up a security deposit, they are entitled to those funds whenever their term, lease, whatever ends. So we have to make sure that we list out these members' deposits. So whenever it's time to release them, we have them, we have those funds set aside. All right, and then that equity, that's when we go into our retained earning, what this business is worth. So it shows that it's worth $54,000. But then you see our total assets equal our liabilities plus equity. All right, we can go to the next one. Here we go into just a broad view of our income statement. We see our member assessments, our income with our total revenue and our expense, less our expenses, some loan interest, utilities, that's gas and electric, phones, depreciation. If we have a building or equipment that we're depreciating, that is us out writing off a portion of the normal use and normal wear and tear of an asset. So for instance, you may always hear that, okay, as soon as we drive that car off the lot, it's going to instantly depreciate. And it means it will lose value. That doesn't mean you pay less for it, but it just shows the normal wear and tear of it, and will eventually depreciate it down to zero. So it's all based on how many years we anticipate the useful life to be of that asset. Here our maintenance expense. This is the normal maintenance to a building, not major renovations, but just normal maintenance that has to be done to keep the as a part of the day-to-day operation. Education, that could be your training, professional development, any of that good stuff. All right, on to the next. And remember, we went into our retained earnings. So that just shows how our net income, it flows into our retained earnings, which is accumulation of all of our net profits and loss over the years since inception. So this account shows our worth, and it's an accumulation of how much profit or loss we've had over the course of the years. And that brings us to our ending retained earnings. On to the next. Wait a minute, my chat is in the way. All right, so we were, it just gives a little bit about our retained earnings. With talk about the beginning year, how we calculate that with the balance sheet, plus or minus the net income or loss for the years, and then the ending balance. So we can skip through that. Oh, also, I can provide these slides. I know we kind of going through quickly, and I have no problem sharing my information if anything, if something pops up. All right, so we talk about our two methods of accounting. We have our accrued method that is in accordance with GAAP, and then our cash method. Go to the next. So under our accrual method, our governing body is our generally accepted accounting principles. So they mandate that they accept, let me say this, we accept the accrual method. the cash method can be used. It's just not accepted in accordance to our generally accepted accounting principles. So for our formal financial statements, so generally what your creditors, your bankers ask for, and your investors, they're asking for are your accrued financial statements. And generally they will ask even some CDFIs. I do like, it was one of the programs. Is it with the housing co-op? I am curious. What is your criteria? I think it was it Kendra? I'm just curious as to what criteria. Okay, what criteria do you follow in approving community members or members into the co-op, and then seeing if they approve for housing?
So we are still in the process of forming everything. So we haven't determined yet.
So, okay, that one is, okay. Yeah, who are you soliciting to external investors, or is it a particular CDFI?
So we want to create our own CDFI, or yeah, we want to create our own. So we're currently, sorry, I have my son and he's very noisy. We are currently working with business law students at the University of Georgia to create all the legal structure that we need for the investment fund. So we're just in the process of doing that now. And then we're hoping to have, I think, local businesses who want to invest regularly in that fund, as well as, hopefully some larger like philanthropic donations to go into that. And then that fund will be 60% invested in real estate. And then the other 40%, we're hoping to invest in local businesses and offer like low interest loans to local businesses. And I think the idea is that there will also be like a community, like the Ujima project was mentioning that it was like they use community to make their decision-making for their investments. I think that's the plan for us as well, that we'll have, sort of a board of people who make those decisions about where the money should go.
I like it. I now also suggest, I'm gonna see if I can find the website before I get off. One of the urban leagues, and I think it's up in Cleveland, Ohio. What's the other C word? It's either Cleveland or Cincinnati. But one of their urban leagues, one of the directors, they branched off and created a CDFI. And when I asked them who were some of the funders, it's a group or a site, I think, called Kickstarters. And it's where you can have philanthropic, you can say what your purpose and what your drive is, but it gives that platform for investors to kind of get the word out there that you are starting this CDFI and the purpose and the intention of the funds, and kind of solicit to supporters outside of your sphere. But I'll share that with you. I want to say, I think it's Cleveland. All right, so we're going to go back into our accrual method. What took us off? What made me go on this path?
We still?
Yep, I was still there. I went on I went down a rabbit hole. So the page before. Oh, okay. Maybe this is a sign we're skipping ahead. All right.
Hold on a second. Let me.
Okay. Ron, don't even worry about it.
Okay.
I can talk from it. So we were talking about the accrual-based accounting. That is where we are, that's mostly accepted. That's what took me down that rabbit hole, because most of the investors and creditors, they accept accrued-based financial reports. I think the next report talked about our cash bases. People do use cash bases, especially when it's a small company. It's much easier if they don't have an accountant. And then they may present their financials or present their platform, and then the accountant can convert the cash basis statement into accrued financial statements. Okay, so here that brings us to the perfect place of our depreciation. We spoke briefly on this, and we don't have to go too deep. Just know, I would say, for anyone that's not really interested in accounting, just know if you have any assets that are on the books, you just want to make sure that you're taking depreciation and making sure you're taking advantage of that expense that can offset your revenue. So regardless if you're a for-profit or nonprofit, this is a great benefit. All right, so now, Ron, we're going to go to the next. Yep, I'm looking in the chat. We could do some crowdfunding. All right, so we're getting into kind of some of the, and we touched upon this a little earlier when we were talking about capital projects versus repairs and maintenance. This is when we talk about, okay, what are the projects we're going to put on that balance sheet versus what are we going to expense? So this is important too as business owners, because sometimes these, we're doing renovations to a particular a building or a space. Individually, it could be small amounts, and you think, oh, I can expense it. Give you another example of an expense. I have to change out all the light bulbs. Individually, light bulbs is not that expensive. However, collectively, it has become a $100,000 project because we have so many light bulbs and we're trying to convert it to energy efficient. So if I was just changing out individual light bulbs, I would expense it. But because this is a larger project, now I'm going to capitalize it. I'm going to add it to my building improvement because it will improve, it will increase the value of my building. And that's something that can be a part of my depreciation. So we're going to go to the next.
When you say balance sheets, are you putting it on your balance sheet as like capital reserves or like
Capital improvement.
okay.
Yeah, I put it in, it's capital improvement, yes.
What if
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like, but what if, say for instance, like the light bulbs that you gave as an example, you can't purchase all those light bulbs for whatever reason like that year, but you're like, okay, well, I want to set aside X amount of dollars to ensure that maybe next year we're in a better position to purchase the light bulbs collectively.
Yeah.
So if you're putting on your balance sheet, would it be again capital reserves, or like how would you handle that?
Yep, I could do a capital reserve or like a restricted fund, or a savings account. So it could be, and you can label it whatever. Yep, I think that's but yes, I would use some type of reserve. So capital reserve, restricted reserve, building reserves. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question. What's the difference just financially between putting something as a capital project and expensing it? Like, what's the difference to just the cash flow of the co-op, of the business, of whatever's happening?
Okay, that's a great question. So keep in mind, if we expense it, we're taking advantage of that expense. It offsets your revenue that year, and that's it. If we capitalize it and we put that improvement on your balance sheet, it increases the value of your building. So if you paid $100,000 for the building and it's $100,000 worth of lights, now the value of the building, we're saying the building is $100,000, but we have leasehold improvements of another $100,000.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. So then like over years, whenever you're like getting funds or money, whatever, you can put that as part of your assets and just as part of what goes towards the, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. However, if I was just buying 2 light bulbs and my 2 light bulbs, they may be $250. I'm going to expense that. Because it's only $250. But now that it's become a $100,000 project, I'm putting it on my balance sheet.
Okay.
All right, what were we talking about here? Oh, we're doing our budget versus variance report. So I would strongly suggest, regardless if you're in the planning phases or you already have your business established, make sure you have a budget. And that's regardless if you're for-profit, nonprofit. Now, nonprofit is a non-negotiable. That budget is what drives the business. Any nonprofit that I work with, before I look at your financials, I want to see your budget. And so I like to tell stories through numbers. Some people like words. So I don't really want to hear a whole bunch of, oh, I did this is so great, and blah, blah, blah. Let me see your financials and let me see your data, because that tells your story. And you shouldn't have to say anything. So if you are, so for instance, if you are into the food co-op, it should be evidence of either you purchasing some type of food, or I could see some type of barter. I should see some evidence of that on your income statement. Now, if we're looking to invest in a building, then I should be able to look at your balance sheet. I should be able to look at, I like that. I should be able to look at your balance sheet and say, oh, okay, I see you have a large, maybe you have that building reserve or capital reserve, or you have a huge amount in investments, but little in cash. I'm like, you have a low cash account, but I see you have a large amount in some mutual funds or some investments. What's going on? Are you saving for something? Is this what we're doing? That should be the question that I'm asking. However, if you show me balance sheets with zeros on it, but you tell me you want to buy a $5 million building, then something doesn't add up. And so, okay, on your revenue and expenses, how you spending your money should show what type of business you're running. So if your business is strong in the service where you require people, your biggest investment should be your people. It should be salaries, should be the driver of it. If you have more of an online platform where it's not as much people driven, but it's technology driven, then I should see some huge investments in technology. So your financials, they tell the story. So now let's go into, we create that budget. We're strictly creating a budget for the year for the revenue versus your expenses. I suggest creating a budget every year. But with that budget, you use your actuals as your driver and you use your story. So I may be able to look at your actuals and say, I can anticipate this would be your budget, but I don't know your story. I don't know what your plans are. I don't know what you've already set up and anticipating. This year, you may have only had 2 people on payroll, but you didn't tell me that you already have it set up, that you're hiring another 2 people because you are going to receive such and such funding next year. So your revenue are going to double and your expenses will double. So, and creating the budget, it's with your past performance and your story and your experience with it. And here we talk about, we're going into the gap. We don't need to go into that as much. This is more of a compliance. I would say most importantly, let's just look, make sure what comes out of this, that you create a budget. And Miss Marie said, is no expense called miscellaneous. You should be able to say exactly what you're spending money on. I don't care how trivial, if it's something for the office, then it's your office expense. If it's something for the garden or your program, then you outline what those programs are, what that expense is called. So it's just sitting down and making you think of, okay, how would I categorize these expenses? And it makes the accountants, your tax preparer, whoever's life so much easier at the end of the year, and your life easier. It's less stressful. If you start off with great records and itemizing, then it makes life so much easier as time go on. All right, I'm ready for the next slide. Oh, we go into our example. Okay. Let me hit it again. All right. So we have a situation. We have, at the end of December, the cooperative borrowed $1 million to develop its first property. The development costs exactly $1 million. Let me give the disclaimer. What do you call it? Uh-oh, it's getting late. Problem is so much easier when we're in person, but we're going to try and rock it out online. Okay, give me the next slide. As a professor, you know I love a whiteboard, so I have to figure out how to update my Zoom for a whiteboard. So this is how we show. We show that initial investment of $1 million, our land and building, that's our asset. And we have a loan to purchase that land and building for $1 million. So right now you see our assets and our liabilities equal. So we have no equity. We go next.
What would be the difference if the land, we purchased the building for $1 million, but it's worth more than $1 million? Say it's worth 1 million and a quarter. Would that other two-quarter, will that go down in equity?
That could go in equity, yep. But we would show it, yes, indirectly, yes, it would go down to equity. We would record, yep. And my mind is escaping me the name of the account. My apology. This is what 5:30 in the morning. It'll hit me. But yes, and directly it would go into equity and you would capture it. And the same is also the same. Say, for instance, you put a down payment on it and your whole loan wasn't $1 million. So we record exactly what it is. So you record your loan, let's say it's 900,000, but then we had the building and the asset. So everything would be reflected, but at all times it will balance. So we would have a offset. All right, give me the next one.
Go over there.
All right, here's our assumption 1. So I gotta write it down. See, I should have printed this out. All right, so we have 30 co-ops. To start each year, the members are assessed $1,000 each unit for a total of $30,000, but 2 members didn't pay during the month, and 1 member paid their January and February charges. Oh, this is when I'm doing accrual. Okay, we can go ahead. This is a little calculation. So in accordance to GAAP, we would show our total assessments, our accrual base at 30,000, and that's how it would be recorded. Shoot. However, on our cash side, they only record what was the cash that was received. So we didn't receive the full 30,000. but on accrual, we record what was earned. So with this, when we're recording on the accrual side, what I would say is if you're not comfortable in accounting and that you're doing this on your own, I would say then it's easier to go on the cash side, because with accruals, you have to remember to reverse out the accruals, and it's a timing thing. So if that's not your thing, and that's fine, and right now you're starting up, you don't have the funds, I would find a nice, easy online system. I preferably like QuickBooks Online. That's a general start, but they have so many others. I've heard clients use Wave. It's a couple of us. The main thing is you want to keep track of any funds that are coming in, any funds that are going out. That's the key. And with that, with your information, any accountant, if you have good record keeping and it's detailed, an accountant can make the adjustment into some GAAP financials and where they're accrual based. And you got Marie in the class. She's going to take care of everybody. All right, on to the next. Oh, what we do. Okay. So it's showing how cash versus, on our balance sheet, this is cash versus accrual basis, how it shows up differently. I'm sorry, this is, let's see, our total, we show our 29,000 received in cash. I'm trying to remember, this was GAAP, okay. 29,000 that was received in cash, but we have 2,000 in accounts receivable, where it's mean people owe us money. And then of course, we had the land and building. We have a little deferred revenue. See, this is where accounting gets spicy and fun. This is meaning somebody paid for something in advance, but we have yet to earn it. So we put it on the deferred revenue. And again, we see our liabilities, our net income of 30,000 that transfers over to our equity. And our balance sheets must balance. The total assets must equal the liabilities plus equity. So go to the next. So I would just say, if anybody want to have fun with accounting, I would say it would be nice to print this side by side. That's where it gets fun, and we have the whiteboard. We would have a good old time. Okay, so our assumption in January, assumption 2, in January, the co-op purchased 5,000 worth of supplies, for which it paid 4,000 were paid by the end of the month, and staff incurred, oh, these are supplies paid, okay. And then our staff incurred 8,000 in wages, of which 7,000 were paid. So this is enough to show you why you need an accountant, because who wants to keep track of these numbers except for accountant? So that's just my, I enjoy it. And go to the next. So we have this is GAAP versus cash perfect. So with this, you see that our statements, this is on a small note, but it could be the difference of $1,000. So imagine, I like to think big, if this is $1 million. $1 million can make a big difference. And if you're not accounting for your financials properly. So that's, if nothing else that comes out of this side, that's why it's so important. You start off right. So what I would recommend for all of my beginners, I'm not saying you go out and get a CPA, But I would say just maybe do a once a year check-in. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm on the right path. I want to set up my financials, maybe go over the chart of accounts before you even get it started with your accountant. And maybe the accountant could say, you know what, I see you getting started. Maybe we can set you up with a bookkeeper or a strong admin, and we can train them. So we know that they're maintaining your books. And if it's any other questions, we have a little area that says, ask my accountant. Because sometimes we do have some little quirky transactions. So that keeps you on the right path. It's so much easier to be proactive as opposed to trying to go back 2 years and clean up a lot of mess. And then you're late on your taxes, and then, compliance become an issue. All right, we're going to go into the next. And here we go into our balance sheet. What were we? We had supplies. We should have some payables on here. Yep. We had $2,000 worth of payables, 1,000 related from the supplies, and then another 1,000 from our salaries. We still have our deferred revenue. And you see the balance sheet must balance. All right, going to the next. Oh, wow. I was really adventurous with, yeah, I was ready to get into the nitty gritty. All right, so assumption 3. This is in January. The co-op made a loan of $3,000. 2,000 of it compromised of interest. 2,000 is interest. And 1,000 is a down payment on principal. All righty. So with this, again, especially for anyone who is soliciting, and I know definitely my CDFI is not an option, where you have to have the financial statements and they have to be prepared by an accountant. Anytime you are applying for a loan or you are engaging an investor, you have to make sure that you are presenting financial statements in accordance to GAAP. So with this, if you have any type of loan on the books, it's not just about paying down the loan. It's about differentiating between your principal and interest and making sure you apply the right amount to pay down principal versus how much is your interest expense. So you can go to the next slide. So here we said we paid $2,000 in our interest, even though we had the mortgage payment of $3,000. 2,000 2,000 on the accrual side is only interest. The other 1,000 is applied directly to the loan under the liability section on the balance sheet. However, on our cash basis side, you see on cash basis, they pay it, they report it. And again, which is fine. If you have ample record keeping, an accountant can convert your cash basis into GAAP. You just got to make sure you keep track of everything. So meaning keeping track of any mortgage payments. I would say if you have a statement, if you handwrite it, or if it's electronic, just tracking the payments according to the mortgage statement, loan statement. Okay. All right, next one. And here we show the impact of our balance sheet. Where did we reduce? We reduced our liabilities. That's for our principal payment of $1,000. We reduced that down to 990. Remember, 1,000 was principal, the other 2,000 was interest. All right. Go ahead, Ron. All right. So here, these are just some of the questions that was that accountant, a creditor, someone may ask about you. Okay, how are your financial statements presented? Are they cash basis or accrual, or a combination of both? Are your revenue and expenses expected to be consistent throughout the year? That's generally what I would ask of a new client, because I know with a lot of you, it's some seasonal work, and it may be some peaks and valleys throughout the month. So how do you plan if you don't know, if I don't know what your peaks and valleys are? So I would, before I open it up to any questions, I want to leave you with this. The accountant just reports your numbers, but this is your baby. This is your story. And you want to make sure that you have some accountability, and at least you understand what an accountant is reporting. Because so many times I hear business owners say, oh, I cannot deal with the numbers. I cannot deal with that. I'm gonna be honest, I don't particularly care for writing, but I have to. It's a part of the work. So I want you to, if you have that in your mindset, I'm sorry for stepping on your toes, but I want us to reprogram our mind and say, okay, tell me what I need to look at, and let me make sure I'm telling the story correctly. Make sure the accountant is, it shows exactly, it reflects what is going on in your business, because that is your story. Keep in mind, before a bank or creditor may even speak with you, the first thing they ask for is an application, unless see your financials or your tax returns. So you want to make sure it's representing your business. All right, so I'm gonna open it up to some questions. I know we kind of buzzed over some things. Everybody still up? No questions? We have all accountants on here. All right, hit me to the next, Ron. I think that was it. Yep. So I think together we're stronger. I love the co-op. As none of us is as smart as all of us. So I think I believe in pulling together resources. Oh, okay, wait a minute. I did see a question. Wait a minute. Is accrual required for a C Corp? I would say yes. However, I have seen some cash basis C Corp that I had to convert over. So it depends on the industry. I'm gonna tell you which one I'm thinking of specifically is the trucking industry. A lot of the trucking companies were going on cash basis, and I saw a lot of those as C Corps. And keep in mind, for taxes, cash basis is acceptable. I know it's a lot of processing. Thank you, Matthew.
No, I wanted to say, this is not a question, but I really appreciated this session because I think especially in the early stage, and I know I found myself in this, I don't know about anyone else, but it's like even just the questions about like, oh, like this is a capital project, or oh, this is investing in the value of the business. Sometimes for me, like it's hard to think like, oh, this effort until I see the what comes back. It's hard to think like, oh, this increases the value of the business. Oh, like adding assets or even getting hardware or being able to just service customers better, being able to connect with people better. So then even just like hearing it and thinking about it, I was literally just like taking notes like, oh no, this is the direct investment. This is an investment to this, especially when you were saying like, if this is important to your business, that should show up in your balance sheet. Then it's like, oh yes, like even if you don't see it in the same tangible ways you would think, like, or even just like for farming, like the inventory of growing crops, like that is important to the business. So thinking about that and then putting it in the frame of like, oh, this should go on a balance sheet. That was really, really helpful.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yep. Yeah. And you know, it's always interesting that we have a lot of value for, I'm gonna say for my for the startups that saying they have not yet developed. I'm sure a lot of you are investing in the business even now. I mean, just your time here is an investment. So I want to make sure that you capture those investments. So I'm looking at financial investment. And you can, you know, take advantage of it. Make sure it gets to your financial statements, or make sure you take advantage of it on your tax returns. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I see a hand raise.
Yeah, I
Ma'am.
was curious about like at what stage do you think it would be necessary to hire an accountant, and kind of starting, you know, in a thinking about budget and things, what will we need to, I mean, will we need to save a certain amount of money? And where would we look to hire one?
So I would always say first start in your sphere. So start in your circle, because accounting, accountant with money, that's an intimate thing. And it has to be some trust. So it's easy to go and say, okay, Google it, or but it's so much easier if somebody knows somebody and they can tell you the pros and cons of that accountant. To say, look, if you're a startup, this is the one. And I've had some people, but other people say, but once you get to this big, sometimes they get a little busy, you may want to transfer to this accountant. So I would say start off with family and friends, business supporters, and just ask around. And once you start generating revenue, once you identify how you're going to generate revenue, then that's when I would have that first meeting. So say, for instance, then not necessarily when the money comes in, but once you say, okay, maybe I just signed a contract for XYZ, or I know by the fall, I'm going to start selling whatever it is. Then that's the time that you make, and you can do an hour consultation. There are also free resources. You have the SBA, they have, I think, a SCORE, sometimes the urban leagues, the Chamber of Commerce. There's some that provides us technical assistance, even if it's just to start that budget. So before you generate that first penny, you want to make sure you know how much money are you anticipating bringing in, and how do you expect to spend it? And how is that going to generate more revenue? And I'm gonna give this plug, and I know I'm an accountant, that's my livelihood and everything. But I don't want you, as a new business owner, you don't want to go out there spending money where you can have those free resources until you need to. And the free resources will let you know, oh, it's time for you to get an accountant now. Like you've gotten to the limit. But take advantage of them. Thank you. All right. Anybody else?
Okay.
Well,
Okay, I just want to stay. I'm with Market 166 in East Point, Georgia. And we are food co-op, and we have had our records on a Excel spreadsheet for 5 years. Okay, now we're at the point that we want to transfer it over to QuickBooks with an accountant. And we have searched diligently for over a year for the right accountant. Okay, and it was not easy. Okay, and you want to really get an accountant that specializes in co-ops, because it's a different accounting system than regular accounting. And some regular accountants do not know all of the intricacies of co-op. So if you could get somebody in, and there are networks that provide accounting for, and I'm trying to think of that network right now, but there are networks that provide co-op accounting services, and they're not very expensive, but you really need it to get a foundation, a strong foundation with your co-op and getting all your ducks in a row. You need an accounting service.
Definitely. I think that's a nice resource to share for the co-op. If they for co-op accountant, for finding an accountant that specializes in co-op. Oh, and I'm gonna put in the chat, I found the Urban League. Ooh. It is the one in Cleveland. And they have a small business, they just do it for business owners. I send it to everyone. But they just started it in the last 5 years. It's a different question. What was that? Oh, let's see. Oh, thank you, Bobby. I'm gonna check out this, what you share. Got it. Ooh. Oh, that's nice.
There is a group, I forgot where it comes out of, but there is a group that has lawyers as well as other professionals specifically for co-ops. I forgot the name of it. I thought it was SLSC or something, but that's not it. And then there's also NSAC. I don't know if it's a .com or a .org, but it's National Society of Accountants and Cooperatives or something like that. And a lot of people say that they can't find anybody in there. But that's where I have learned, I take their courses and I have learned quite a bit from them. I do know they have a list. I just don't know how easy it is to find anybody.
Oh. All right, well, it would, I wanted to, let's see. Regina Boston, thank you for sharing. Everybody, James, I appreciate it. Make sure I'm not missing anything else in the chat. Got that.
I think that's it in the chat.
All righty.
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
Well,
Ron.
Well, Charmaine, thank you for sharing your experiences, your knowledge, and your expertise with us this evening. Um, is it okay if we share your email address with folks?
Yes. Oh, did I not put it on the slide? Let me, I'll put it in the chat. I done lost my chat. Yes. There we go. I am a early riser. So usually when I check my emails, it may be around 5:30. So yeah, if you text me after 5 p.m., yeah, I won't see it till. All righty.
Well, I know you've had a long day.
I had a long one. I'm still in the building, so I'm about to get up out of here.
All right. Okay.
Well, thank you. It was so lovely meeting everyone. Hopefully I get to see y'all again before the cohort ends. And I wish y'all all the best.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine.
Ron,
Thank you
talk
so
to you soon.
much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, folks. I'll see you next Thursday, the same time, 6 o'clock. And I forget who we have on a calendar, but I know it's someone that brings a lot of attentionality to the space. So I'll see you next week, and I'll get this recording out to you sometime between now and Tuesday. You'll get it. All right. Take care, everyone.